Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Start a new file here. Um, New. Yeah, so I don't know. Today I was thinking might be cool to make some sort of personal air vehicle. I was looking around, I don't know why, on Pinterest yesterday at like one and two man cars and flying and like drone cycles and that kind of thing. And I just thought it might be kind of cool to make something like that. Um, so to sort of set our design requirements beforehand, we want to make something that is flying, suborbital, but probably pressurized, non-military, small, and relatively sporty looking. Because it's non-military, it can't be an entirely form follows function vehicle. We need to make something that looks cool so people will buy it, on top of looks cool so it fits well in our movie. That's the big difference. I don't know if I'm sure some of you know this, between like military vehicles and civilian vehicles, is that a military vehicle really doesn't need to look cool. There's no selling point in how it looks. We think they look cool just because mostly we've been trained to associate that level of effectiveness and frankly probably violence with cool, but it doesn't need to look cool as one of its functions, whereas civilian vehicles need to look cool so people will buy them. So yeah, so that's kind of there's our box. That's our success criteria that we're thinking for this one is cool, one man, suborbital, but sealed. Let's start with some kind of a cockpit shape. I think I'm just going to use the pill button, see what we get out of that. And we're going to do it in symmetry, even if I kind of go relatively down the center for a pill. Oh, and let's go to my own. I think I was single. Good. All right. Away. Go away. Okay. So there's our starting shape, which doesn't look like much. I'm kind of thinking this would be like the cockpit area, at least right now. Let's go to the move tool, shrink it down a little bit, and maybe start making some things. But I don't want to do that yet. I think I actually am going to go to, because I want it civilian looking, we're going to drop the inner radius down a little bit so that we'll get some sweeping instead of just brutal hard edges. Not exactly sure what I'm making yet, but so we'll start it almost like an elephant head, which it will not forever, but let's push it in a little bit down there, bring it up, a bit more of a front nose, bring those parts in, not in that much. Well, maybe let's just smooth it. Okay, so it's kind of silly looking right now. I admit it, but I think it'll work for what we kind of want. No. And again, we're gonna do a lot of stuff to it on top of that, so it's kind of neat. Wasn't planning on going that deep, but we'll leave it there. Okay, so there's our basic shape. Now, back to play. First, let's kind of smooth these moved edges out a little bit, because I don't really need them to be all jaggy like they are, and maybe I'd rather make sure they were, whoa, undo. That's why I had accidentally had the wrong tool open still. Okay, so smoothing our edges down. So we're thinking this is cockpit area. It's kind of, so it's like a snub nose thing of some kind. So we need to give it landing gear, jets, wings, the kind of the whole kit and caboodle, as my father would say. Let's start with kind of a wing. Let's go to a new layer. And make it as large as it'll go. It is. And I want it to feel relatively flat. Kind of a wing thing. And then I might actually... Yeah, okay, fine. Let's put line constraint on. And shrink her down. And keep constraint. I wish we'd lock the constraint as you shrunk it, but oh. And turn on continuous. No paper. Give ourselves a bit more of a wing. Okay. Then I want to make sure I'm level correct. Yes, that's level. Maybe? No. Not that far forward. But maybe like that. Kind of feels a little maybe too military in the sense of like a gun or something. I don't really want it to feel like it has guns. This one's supposed to be different. It's supposed to be for the people. Okay, sure. Okay. It's a flying Triceratops head. Please do not judge where we're going to end up from where we are right now. So let's now think about, actually, maybe it would be cool. Think about landing gear. Did I not select it? I did. Oh, that one. I'll go back to single. Line constraint. Okay, that's really small. I wish I could make it bigger. Is there a way to make it bigger? Not really. Okay, we may have to redesign this and rethink about this one. Wings. Let's keep working on the body before I start doing landing gear. Maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself. Almost certainly I'm jumping ahead of myself. Okay. Make it bigger. I don't know if this is a jet, but it could certainly read as a jet. I'm pointing down a little bit too much, though. Okay, so starting of an engine turbine, something, just to kind of make it feel a little bit more engine-like. And you know, as I've mentioned before, we're doing these. I kind of have an idea, but I've not done any sketching yet. So I'm breaking the rules of good design. I don't really have an idea. I'm kind of just winging it. But it's kind of neat sometimes to see what you get with just winging it. So we're going to do that. And it's like, you know, it's like Lego building. You just do something kind of cool. Okay, so I made this cylinder. This is the cylinder yesterday that I used for a tank engine. But let's do something different with it now. No, let's not do that with it. That was a neat idea, but shrink it down. I just want to kind of make something to start giving us a sense of mechanical parts to this thing instead of just blobs. I don't want it to feel like a blob. That's kind of the bigger issue. But no. No. maybe we'll just leave it at that for right now. Let's see. The nose is really throwing me. But I'm not quite. I'm gonna hold off a little bit before I mess with it. But it is definitely throwing me. So I made these. I don't know. See if they can use these. I made these in 3D Coat the other day, kind of just because I thought they were neat looking, and I thought, hey, maybe we can make parts out of them. So I don't know what they are, but I kind of do like them for parts. So maybe we'll do that. No. Maybe I'll wait on them, but I'm going to remember them because I do like them and I want to use them somehow. Now it's a minigun, which we also don't want on this model. Let's give us a bit more of a fuselage. Some kind of a body thing. Mechanical pieces. Something kind of more square, maybe? To contrast with that weird... Maybe that piece. That's sort of feeling okay to me. Yeah, something like that I kind of like, I think. Let's see. Go in here. Let's turn it around so I can see what I'm doing. And up to there. Okay, we can kind of use this, I think, and we can use it a couple times, which will probably be good for our design language for sort of setting shapes and giving it some sort of level of consistency. And we can get rid of some of that stupid elephant body look. So, alright, yeah, there we go. That's cool. I think that I like those sort of round against straight shape ideas too a lot. I'm always looking for something I can use to kind of get some contrast. So again, round against straight, big against small, all that kind of stuff is really important. And I feel, is it right? Yeah, cool. Okay, so we're starting to build in enough mechanical bits that our base shape is informing our design, but it's not probably going to make it too far into our design in terms of, like, we may not see it at the end, and that's fine. We don't really need to, as long as it informed our design enough that we got something cool out of it. So I'm just going to see what happens. And on continuous, yeah. What happens if we do something like this piece here? Shrink it down a little bit. Line ourselves up. And see, we turned like a foot shape into some kind of like a beveled line, but I think it's cool. Let's see, are we nowhere near symmetric? I mean, I guess we are symmetric, but I kind of want it to be a straight line that doesn't do a weird taper thing. So, okay. Okay. Alright, okay. I can live with that. Let's do a similar kind of thing there. And maybe a similar kind of thing. No, not there. Further in. There. Yeah, alright. So, I guess I should talk about human scale. I'm thinking one person is probably about that tall. That's so. We are literally looking at one of those like micro flyer things, and high tech. So it doesn't. Is it? I haven't decided yet. Is it going to be anti-gravity, or it's going to have big old jets? It'll probably have some kind of a jet of something, just because it kind of look cool, but it doesn't necessarily need huge, thrusters to represent what I want it to be. It can be, I think I might wind up using that as a thruster or some kind of something. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end up using that for that. That's cool. So the neat thing is, as a Western audience trained, we're pretty sophisticated audiences at this point. We think we know what things are pretty well. So if you put some circular things like that there, maybe a final set kind of there, we're going to read those as thrusters of some kind. They're kind of magical thrusters. They don't really need to, I think there's no hole there, but just visually, like, yep, that feels like it goes that way. It's a thruster. We've got, our main thrusters, bottom thrusters, all the thrusters. That's cool. Okay. And is there like our mechanical bits part of this thing? So what else do we want to do before I do a cockpit of some kind? I used this piece yesterday on the tank, and I kind of thought it was cool. I think they're sunglasses, but they're kind of neat looking. Not right there. And they make a good, like, kind of intentional looking shield baffling. Like, is it as big as it'll get? No, now it's as big as it'll get. Like, they hide our edges. They give this kind of a neat, like, I have eyes, which is not an unhappy thing. Oh, actually, oh, those are from those jets before. I wasn't even thinking those were there. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it definitely feels like it has eyes now, which is kind of interesting. It'd be a happy accident. We will see if it survives. Okay, because this is a civilian vehicle, I don't want to like bits it out too much. I feel like military vehicles look awesome when they have like 8,000 little pod things sitting off the edge, but civilian vehicles less so. So I'm gonna make a new layer. Go away. And my cockpit. Feels like a cockpit. Okay. Now, I'm gonna try something. Active layer only. I had active layer only. Thought I did. Oh, I don't mind that. Now I have active layer only, so whatever. That's so cool. You can just turn it like that. It's like, yep. Whoa, it's a heart. Let's undo that. I think I've gotten a little too thin. No. Okay. Not a heart. I think I'll cover that up to begin with. Okay, so there's like that's my glass cockpit area thing, I guess. We'll call that that. So I don't want to be on this layer anymore. I'm going to rename it. Not that I seem to always be able to remember that. So I want to be able to use this. This is, if there's one layer that I want to be able to have on a different texture so that I can do that, it would be that one. But let's give ourselves another new layer. And go back to clay. And I'm going to go some like basically hinge shapes kind of thing for the cockpit. Something that reads like it might be that. Shrink this down. There. No, not quite. There. Yes. So now the cockpit has some kind of a hinging form to it. It's pretty silly looking, really, but I don't know. Yeah, I actually find a lot of those single-person aircraft things to look kind of silly. So, guns, no. But all right, I'm not super digging the eyes, at least like that though. I could probably go back up and delete them off that layer, but let's just see if we can cover them up with something else instead. How do we feel? I don't mind having eyes. I just don't like those eyes. I like that better. At least it's more interesting shaped. Yeah, so entry into this vehicle will be via cockpit. So it lands, cockpit comes up, people go into it. So I don't need to worry about putting a hatch on the actual aircraft. Let's give it... Remember I said I love these sorts of things before. If you've been paying, if you've been following along, I love those sorts of things. If you don't, if you have not been following along, just the sort of wires and shapes that just like roll bar kind of shapes. I think it might be my 80s upbringing, but I just think it gives some neat spaces for light to bounce off of, which can be really important for this kind of thing. I don't know about there though. How about if I do there and cover it? Not yet, maybe later. Maybe that's good for right now. Okay. What's another good shape we want to put on there? Some kind of we need to decide if it's going to be flying or landed. That's the next thing. If it's going to be landing, I have to build a landing pod of some kind. And if it's not, then obviously I don't. Honeycomb things. Yeah, okay. More honeycomb things. A little too ram's horn-like, but I kind of like something there. These weren't working for me, though. See something that's got a little bit more detail, maybe, just to make it more interest. Maybe, but let's make it a little smaller. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's better. The more I do this, the more I'm really coming to feel like kit bashing is one of those things that it's easy to go overboard. Just throw a ton of shapes on there. And in the small... In the short run, that looks cool. It looks neat in an area. But think of like the Millennium Falcon. It's been kit bashed all to hell. Like, it's just a giant kit bash. But it has lots of areas of rest space, even if you don't think of it as that. There's details for sure, but it's also got flat space for your eye to rest. And I want to make sure that we have some of that as well. There's my bulkheads shape. No. No. Just kind of want to try with something a little bit, again, so we got so much curve, something straighter on there, something straight against curve. Sort of make it more 80s feeling, but I like it. What does it do? Absolutely nothing. But that's the kind of that's the kind of detail I want to add now. It's not a lot of spiky up stuff, but things that just slightly and subtly change the lighting when I take it and render it. So that it's not just super flat. Yeah, on that layer. Okay, right. So there's a side view. Let's take it down so you can see this. There's our side silhouette right now. You see on the ground there, the shadow's neat to look at for that. There's our top silhouette. There. So it reads as snub nose for sure. But that's kind of the style we were going for. We're going for that like drone copter, sort of like take the cockpit out of an airplane and just make it that, and then make it fly. It's almost like a muscle car. So, all right, kind of still very relatively happy. I think we're starting to get out of what I call the ugly phase, into something that might actually work. How do we feel about the front? Do we want some like lights or something, maybe? Something, I mean, I guess the danger with lights is that they could always be guns, and I don't want it to feel military, but can we do I have a headlight sort of shape that I could use pre-made? Rivets, and rivet, sorry. And let's try that. Shrink it down. Cool. Yeah. Shrink it way down. Yeah, so we got some lights there. Forward. No, but I like him in that hole, so for sure. Let's realign. Cool. Yes, yes. That's what I needed there. Right. It's kind of neat. Kind of digging on all of this. This hole here is kind of a problem. I think I'm just going to fill it. So let's go back to something continuous. No constraints. Cool. And not that far out. Two. Let's smooth it down. Not that much. Gentle application of smoothing. Gentle application. Pigment again. Yeah. Alright. I can live with that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I can't. How do I feel? Yeah, I like it, but I think I'm going to do something solid instead. Nice to try, but... we just keep getting more and more Miyazaki. It is getting more and more Miyazaki, but... how do we feel about that? It's less. See, it gets, the more of those parts we add, the more military it looks, which is not what we wanted. But let's try turn the line on again. Shrink it down a lot. Not that far out. That far out. Okay, that's less military feeling again. Down that. Okay, yeah, that's better. That fills it in more without it feeling sort of super. And there's like engine intake, right, or whatever. So let's do our, I know you guys can't see this way I can, but real sized up above. Looks kind of cool. Yeah, so it's going to go like that. It's definitely a me ship. You guys make stuff and you look and you're like, yeah, that's me. This is, well, I'm definitely getting that vibe now. It's me. Should get that more and more now with this, that I use this tool, which is kind of a neat thing in your artistic career when you start seeing you more and more places. And you're like, yeah, that's me. No question. Yeah. And I do like those kind of fiddly bits. So cool. Okay, so I would say it's not a sports vehicle, but we're kind of looking at it now in that like sporty utility vehicle, like a cool looking Jeep, you know, or something that you want to feel a little tough. It kind of reminds me of like, again, 80s ATVs or something like that. Let's give it on the bottom here. I think I am going to leave the landing up. I'm not going to make a landing pad or a landing gear for it yet. It's going to be flying, but let's see if we could do that. Oh, how do we feel? Just something that would be like, that's where landing gear could go. And if that is where landing gear goes, make it bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Down the center. Okay, shrink it back down. Yes! Now it's got some intent to it. So that's where our landing gear would come out of, and it would kind of fold, make those noises down there. Yeah, cool. This is a relative quick one. I think I may be calling it done fairly soon. We finished maybe a little faster than I was thinking I would, but let's just try one last little thing. Too big. Shrink her down. Still too big. There we go. There's some kind of a bottom to our cockpit. And it'll be a different color than the glass, which is cool. Yeah. And maybe just some kind of a strut thing there. And I could do this all day. Just keep adding little bitsy bits parts to it. It's probably not the right idea. Past a certain point, you're not improving anything by adding more parts. It just can feel like it. But man, it can feel like it. Not there. There. Yeah, okay. Cool. So there's our morning airship. A little less hugely ambitious in epicness than some of the stuff we've been doing recently. But I think it's got a little bit more of a finish too. I got a little bit of time today. I might actually try turning this into a final design and do more than just a keyshot render, although I will post that up first for sure. Thank you guys for following along with me. You can rewatch it either on my Facebook or on YouTube. You can, I guess now I have a channel you could subscribe to on YouTube. I have enough stuff that, you know, if you want to pay attention, feel free to subscribe, leave some feedback. Comments are great. I always love that stuff. It's always nice to hear from people. And thank you very much. I will see you again tomorrow for more of this. Cool. Bye-bye.